I'm Phil Blackman, President of the Engineers and Architects of Hawaii. This presentation by Friends of Haiku Stairs lays out the managed access plan recommended in the final environmental impact statement. The managed access plan safeguards and improves the unique value of Haiku Stairs to Honolulu, and it removes all future liability and operating and maintenance costs from the city. It also eliminates trespass through the neighborhoods. It's not too late to save Haiku Stairs from the city's demolition plan. Removal of the stairs increases liability and security costs to the city forever because it does not stop illegal trespass by hikers determined to hike the famous Haiku Ridge. It is our hope viewers will be energized to appeal to our mayor and our city council to choose managed access. Ask the city to back away from their budgeted stair demolition that will cost taxpayers at least $1 million and still leave the city responsible to pay yearly liability and security costs. Let's not throw away an important part of our heritage, which could never be replaced. Let's reopen Haiku Stairs for the spectacular world-class hiking experience and be prideful of the history Haiku Stairs brings to all. After viewing this presentation, share your comments to the city, Friends of Haiku Stairs, and EAH at the email shown. Mahalo.
Mac, did you get a chance to liven up our day with some humor?
Well, I'm at the ready. This is just a heads up, really, and it's and I wanted to let everybody know, despite previous advice that CEOs have had, they have received now from Dr. Fauci, who says now is not the right time to surround yourself with positive people.
That is good. Hey, and Howard, how are you doing? I see the big H. Now I see your face. Glad to have you.
I'm here in person. Just wanted to honor our honorable speaker for today. Even though he's got a very short hair, it looks like he's joining the military. Whereas the last time I saw him, the hair was down below the shoulders.
All right, thank you. In Virginia, we can have your video if you'd like, and Paul.
I'm here on the phone with Ken Whitcomb as well. I'm calling in on behalf of Historic Hawaii Foundation.
All right, thank you. And Joe, how are you? You can unmute and say a hello as well if you'd like, and same with Paul.
Hello, everyone. This is Joe.
Well done, Joe.
Matt, a few words here.
All right. And Paul, we see you now. Thank you.
Sitting here in the dark, but thanks for the invite. And I'm the ultimate free rider. I attend one of these a year or every other year, but thanks for keeping me on the mailing list.
Aaron, I'm going to let you now take the introduction of our speaker.
Thank you, Phil. Introduce these guys. Vernon Ansdell is the president of the Friends of Haiku Stairs. He is a retired physician living in Kaneohe for over 40 years. So in the Q&A period, we can veer a little into COVID-19 questions if you have any for him. He's very knowledgeable. He's first climbed the Haiku Stairs in the late 1980s when it was controlled by the Coast Guard, and he says it's love at first sight and has been a great advocate ever since. Our other presentation, Adriel, is a fourth generation resident of Kaneohe, retired after 24 years of active military service as an engineer officer and diplomat. He has never climbed the stairs, but has been waiting for the 20 years of closure eagerly to go and check it out. He currently works for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So with that, I think we should bring our presentation up, and I think Vernon's going to take it from here. Thank you.
So thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to present this morning on Haiku Stairs and our vision to have them reopened which we still have, by the way. Next slide. So briefly, something about Friends of Haiku Stairs. We're formed in 1987, non-profit corporation with a mission to preserve the stairs and the environment for future generations. When we were allowed to, we would go up and do maintenance days 2 or 3 times a year. We've done several Native Hawaiian plant surveys on the stairs, looking at the rich variety of Native Hawaiian plants that are up there. And we have a website which is packed with a lot of information, haikustairs.org. It's very rich, the history, as I'm sure you're aware. So the stairs were built for the US Navy in 1942 as part of the response to the attack on Pearl Harbor. And the stairs were a key part of a top secret naval radio station in the valley that was capable of transmitting powerful radio messages to the Pacific Fleet in Tokyo Bay, the borders of Australia during the Second World War. The stairs were actually original stairs were made out of wood, cedar wood. And if you go up the stairs, you can actually see some of the original stairs that have been cast off to the side. In the 1950s, the wooden stairs were replaced with metal stairs, and everything was handed over to the Coast Guard in the early 1970s, and they ran that for many years. Stairs were officially closed to the public in 1987, but there were major renovations done under the Harris administration in 2002, and those renovations cost almost $1 million at that time. But were very well done. Important to emphasize, the stairs are eligible for the National Register of Historic Places and the Hawaii Register of Historic Places. And they were listed by Historic Hawaii Foundation as one of Hawaii's most endangered historic places. And they're also listed by National Geographic as one of the top 10 trails at risk on the planet. A few simple statistics. The top of the stairs is 2,800 feet above sea level. It's been estimated that the number of stairs is 3,922, and the total length of the stairs is 4,000 feet, really just under a mile. So I mentioned earlier about our volunteer days. There are maintenance days that we used to run until we were blocked by the Board of Water Supply a few years ago. We would do 2 or 3 maintenance days every year, and in those we remove invasive plants, pull them out if possible. Where they're small trees, we would cut them and apply herbicide. And this was the goal of this was to try and encourage the native Hawaiian plants that are growing up there. One thing I want to emphasize, it's been mentioned recently that hikers on the stairs are responsible for making all these invasive plants grow all up the mountain and that. Well, if we get our way and are up there doing maintenance work on a regular basis, we will actually be removing all these plants and at the same time encouraging the native Hawaiian plants that are up there. There are a lot of rare and endangered native plants that can only really be seen from the stairs. You know, I don't claim to be a botanist, but I can tell you my understanding is that many plant seeds are spread not by hikers, but by people but by birds and by the wind. And when you're on the stairs, there's a lot of wind and there's quite a lot of birds. If you're on H3, for example, you look up at the callouts, there are octopus plants, octopus trees going a long way up the mountains. And that's in areas where no hikers ever go or ever have been. We would tighten a few bolts when we go up there, treat a few rusted areas. We would bring down trash that we would find mainly in the building at the top and attempt to remove some of the graffiti that's up there. Here's some example on the left. You've got some invasive plants, Clidemia, and the octopus trees that I mentioned that are very invasive. Picture taken at the building on the top. One time when we were up there, we brought down 150 pounds of trash. You can see it in the back of that truck. Just to mention about some of the many myths and misinformation that's out there about the stairs. And I'm just going to highlight 3 of them. First is that the stairs are dangerous. And this is total misinformation. If you think about it, this is a stairway with railings. You go up or you go down. You can't get lost, and you really are not going to have any sort of significant accident or injury. And when you look at the statistics, there's actually never been a significant injury or a death as a result of an accident on the stairs. Never. Another myth that we hear often, misinformation, is that there are frequent rescues from the stairs. In fact, I would say almost 100% of the rescues from the mountain in that area are from the trail coming up from the Honolulu side, the Moanalua Middle Ridge Trail. And that's a very difficult trail. It's steep, it's muddy. Very often it's covered in clouds. And what happens is people go up there trying to get to the top of the mountain so that they can look at the stairs at the very least. And unfortunately, it's not a signed trail, and people get lost up there. They get in the clouds. They don't know where they're going. They slip and fall, get injured, and they end up calling for help. They panic and call for help. And when the helicopter comes, it can't land in that area. So what they do is they land on the Haiku Stairs side, and people looking up at the mountain think there's another rescue going on from the stairs themselves. And then finally, liability. That often comes up. Well, we can't have the stairs open. It's too much of a liability. And again, the reality is that there have never, ever been any lawsuits against the city and county as a result of accidents or injuries on the stairs. And there's other misinformation, but I won't dwell on those for now. Mention about the environmental impact statement that was published in 2020. Cost about $500,000 to produce this, but it was, I thought, a very good document, very extensive, very detailed, a few sort of limited errors, but that's okay. Nothing's perfect. In there, they estimate the cost to remove the stairs is going to be around $1 million. And they looked at various options, and in that document, they conclude, they have a table where they rank all these options. They conclude that the best option was to reopen the stairs under what we call managed access. And we have a proposal that we've worked on. It's been developed over actually probably decades with a lot of people who know what they're talking about. And it's a proposal for a very viable, cost-neutral alternative to removal of the stairs. We have a title for our managed access plan. It's the concept plan for the managed use of Haiku Stairs. And in that, we address in detail all the valid concerns that have been raised about reopening the stairs. We propose to charge a fee to climb the stairs. It would be a tiered fee structure. So a pretty large amount for visitors and a much smaller amount for kama'aina. We estimate that about 80 hikers a day are a pretty good number of sort of decent number of people to go up there. Not too many, but certainly not too few. And the preferred access routes that we've considered would avoid that residential neighborhood completely, which I think is very important. We propose an office in Kaneohe town. The hikers would report in there, and they will be shuttled to the base of the stairs from that office in shuttle vans. And we estimate about 10 round trips of these vans per day. And at the office, they would get an orientation, a health screening, a safety briefing, and they would sign waivers. And once on the stairs, the hikers are escorted by trained guides who are stationed on the stairs. And they have a very important role in education and safety. They will be trained in safety first. They would even be trained in CPR. That's a bit of an overkill, but that's okay. We want to do this properly. And the whole experience would be, we would call it Haiku Stairs experience. So it's not just a recreational activity. Perhaps more important still, there's all these opportunities for education related to the plants that are up there and the history of the valley, and of course the history of the stairs. So it would be an experience, cultural experience as well. There's so much to teach people about the valley itself and the native Hawaiians that lived there from the 1400s. So very important to emphasize, this concept plan that we have would be cost neutral. It would involve zero cost to taxpayers in comparison with the $1 million that it would take, and probably more, to remove the stairs. And it would be zero cost to the taxpayers because all the startup costs would be covered by the operator. And the hikers' fees that we get would pay for the insurance, the maintenance, the security, the staffing, and the educational programs. We think a robust security plan is essential. The current plan that the city have got for security is woefully inadequate. And so ours would be much more sort of 21st century and actually more expensive to start off with, but that's okay because it has to work. We propose a flexible sort of program, and it would address all the concerns as they arise. And we have involved in addressing these concerns the community, HPD, the operator, security experts, and if necessary, Friends of Haiku Stairs. And we actually think this is a potential model for other popular hiking trails in Hawaii. We all know that this has become a big issue in Hawaii and indeed other countries like New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Europe. Too many visitors, not the opportunity for local people to enjoy the experience, but it's somewhere along there we have to find a compromise and a solution. And we think managed access is actually a very, very viable solution, not only for Haiku Stairs, but also for other trails. And we're also proposing a potential partnership to develop a Hawaiian cultural park and preserve in the Haiku Valley. We've been talking to local Hawaiian groups about this over many years, and we see this as a true win-win situation. And we would donate money to this cultural park and preserve from some of the money we're generating from hikers climbing the stairs. So at this point, I want to just, we're getting near the end of the presentation, but talk a little bit about access to the stairs. And there are plenty of potential access points. I mentioned earlier that really all the good ones should avoid that neighborhood altogether. And also that people will be arriving to the stairs in shuttle vans. So they're not hiking up through the residential area. They're not parking there or anything like that. There are three potential access points here. The one in white is skirting Windward Community College and then goes up sort of adjoining H3 to the trailhead. Then there's another one in a sort of yellowish color that actually would go through the community, which we would prefer does not happen. And then the one at the top is in red, is the access trail that we favor, which uses the old Haiku Road. Now, I apologize to those of you who are not familiar with the geography of Kaneohe, but anybody who's familiar with Haleiwa Joe's in Kaneohe, that's on Haiku Road, so near the top of this map. And so what we propose is that people would go in through the old Haiku Road and then up into the valley in that way. This is the route that was used by ancient Hawaiians to access the valley, and it was also the route used by the Coast Guard when they operated the stairs, when they controlled the stairs. And interestingly, for I think about a decade, when they controlled the stairs, they were getting about 20,000 people a year that would go up and climb the stairs. The process was very simple. You just went up this old Haiku Road to the Omega station, and then you would sign in there, sign a waiver, and go up, come back down, sign out, and leave. And during that time, there were no reported instances of trespassing and no significant injuries reported. Last year, the stairs were transferred from the Board of Water Supply to the City and County of Honolulu. And we'd been working with Mayor Caldwell for many years on a sort of plan to get them reopened. And he had always said very consistently, I will not remove the stairs. So a lot of this ride has been a roller coaster, but we were on a fairly good high towards the end of last year. A request for information was sent out and 14 organizations responded saying they were interested in managing the stairs. Unfortunately, a request for bids was never sent out, and time ran out. There was a new administration with some new city council members, and this very disappointing 180-degree turnaround, with money now being assigned from the budget to remove the stairs and the mayor approving the release of the money. I mean, I have to say, this decision was misguided, it was ill-informed, and based on just a litany of misinformation. It's actually very disappointing for me to see how things can happen. I'm sure it's not new to a lot of people on the line here, but for me, it was a real eye-opener. So just some key points I want to emphasize. The large majority of residents of Oahu and Hawaii support reopening the stairs. And the best option is what we're calling managed access, managed and controlled access. 2014, Ikaika Anderson had a task force that was composed of a large number of stakeholders. And at the end of those meetings, which was once a week for 3 months, the conclusion was that reopening under managed access seemed to be the best option. 3 years later, there was a resolution from the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board supporting reopening the Haiku Stairs under managed access. And as I've mentioned already, the environmental impact statement last year came to the conclusion, having looked at options, that reopening the stairs under managed access was the best option. So whenever large groups of experts look at this, they come to the same conclusion. And yet here we are faced with a decision to remove the stairs. I mean, to me, it makes no sense whatsoever. And reopening the stairs under managed access is clearly the right thing to do, whichever way you look at it, as far as I'm concerned. And I'll admit that I'm biased. I'd like to, if I can, ask Adriel to make some comments about a very fascinating proposal that he has for some of the land in the valley, and which would help access, but also recognize a very important people who have a history with the valley.
My name's Adriel Lamb, retired Army officer. I joined the VF Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 110 MIS Veterans of Hawaii. This history of Haiku Stairs and the Omega Station is a military history that shouldn't be forgotten. It's astounding technology that we use in World War II for our airmen and seamen to be able to navigate globally and know where they're at. And our submariners relied on it throughout the Cold War to know exactly where they were under the sea so they could put things where they need to go when they needed to. And so, but it's just a technology that none of us in County knew about. Many of our neighbors still don't know what was there, the radio station, what the Omega Station is about. And if we don't tell the story or preserve the structures that make that story, we'll forget about what happens. And I make this case for our Native Hawaiian community too. There is 600 years of history in that valley, of cultivation in the valley, which was able to feed close to the same type of population we have in Kaneohe today, 35,000 people. The huakua, from the agriculture in the valley to the fish ponds down at Waikoloa and Hiia. It fed a community of 35,000 like it could today. Fascinating economy that they had back then. But we don't know about it because it's lost, it's erased. We're trying to rebuild that. So what I am proposing here, though, is, and you notice on this graph, there's this plot of land right here. It's the last vestige of the Omega Station, last piece of property that the U.S. government has not returned back to the state of Hawaii. It's the old Navy landfill that the Corps of Engineers has done their review of it, and they've concluded that no further remediation is needed on the landfill to turn it back, to safely turn it back to the state of Hawaii. DHHL has first right of refusal on this land. But I'm proposing that we use this land to make a memorial, a park for our veterans, especially our MIS veterans or veterans who have worked in under classified environments or security operations. For those that have never been able to tell their story, well, and probably never will for many of us because of restrictions, but that there were things that we did to protect our nation, protect our community, and protect these islands. And I've sent Aaron a booklet of this proposal, which includes some of the histories of other veterans that we like to recognize. But it's this location on the Corps of Engineers proposal. It basically says, this land may not be used, probably won't be used for residential, but it's probably good for a recreational area, open area. And we can turn this 20 acres into a veterans park, as well as, notice you mentioned the Haima for your next discussion, that our community emergency response teams can use this safe haven within this protected valley to do your community emergency coordination, warehousing of equipment, and as a communications node for the community in the event of a disaster. So I do have a proposal that this location, which is right off of Haiku Road, connects you basically to the base of the stairs along the DOT H3 access route to the base of the stairs. Completely goes around the community, is all within government land. And it's one of those, as with the access up to Omega Station, it's one of those, why hasn't this been done, or why haven't we been able to try to do this process? So that's all I have for now. I'll turn it back to Vernon. I do have some slides on the Koloff Foundation's plans for a cultural park in the back of the valley if you want to see that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriel. That was a very nice presentation. I think your idea is fabulous. If you want to contact Mayor Blangiardi and maybe let him know that you're a bit concerned about his decision, to put it mildly, here's his contact information, email and phone number. And so really at that point, that's my last slide. I'll leave it up for a while in case people want to take notes from that. Are there any questions, concerns that any of us can try and answer?
I have a question though. It would seem to me that even if you take out the stairs, you're not going to stop people from going up that ridge. And it's going to be more dangerous without the stairs, and you're going to have more people injured in that case.
Sam, thank you very much for that comment. That's absolutely what we believe. We think the liability, which we're saying right now is virtually zero, will become much greater because people will want to get to the top. They'll want to see where the stairs used to be. And there will be more accidents, more injuries, there may be deaths. It really is a very difficult trail for people. They don't realize it's longer, it's muddier, it's steeper, it's much more dangerous. So thank you for that comment. I couldn't agree more.
We're coming to the end of the formal part of the meeting. We will extend, if Adrian and Vernon are willing, to have some interplay with some more questions and answers. If everyone will try to put their video on, because this is a way we as a group can offer an applause.
All right, guys, I'll get this to you in hard copy form. Great job on the presentation, and I'd like to, I guess, call for a round of applause for these guys. Good job there.
All of you guys.
Doing a lot of thankless work and fighting the good fight here. Are you guys available to stick around a bit for some follow-up discussion, or do you have to go?
Yeah.
No, I'm available.
But at this point, the formal part of the meeting is over.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Watch episodes and offer your comments and insights in an email to eahawaii@gmail.com.